girls! So welcome back to the second video for this week of Fair for Friday. I guess welcome back to the channel. For this case, we're going back to California, but this case is like not one of the modern ones. It's more of a case from the late 1800s, but it's a very good one. It's not very much well covered, but I feel it should be talked about. As far as what I saw, there's only like one video on YouTube about it, but it's in Spanish, and not everyone knows Spanish. So for anyone who wants to know a story in English in video form, here it is. Let me quit my rambling, and let's go get started. So we start off with Lastania. Lastania Abarta. Apparently she was born in 1863 in Los Angeles, California. So like I said, we're 1800s, we're going back. So when she is 18, she meets this guy named Francisco Forrester, who he is more known as like Chico. So for the rest of the video, I will refer to him as Chico because for some reason Chico is easier to say. Because when I first heard this case, I had him memorized in my mind as Chico, so it's just easier for me. Okay, but we're talking about the same guy here. So Francisco Forrester, Chico, he's like 40-ish, and she's like 18. So. And apparently she was engaged to like this other dude, but it was an arranged marriage because back then they still did that. And apparently he was like a newspaper editor at the time when they were engaged, but he would like let her become an attorney. So that's pretty much all I said about the fiance. But Chico, he was a businessman, come from a very wealthy family, and apparently he was born in 1841. He was known to be a player, so like, because back then women were like still virgins till marriage because your virtue meant everything. And, as it should. And so, he basically would try to sleep with them to get their virginity. I guess, like, to brag. To feel good knowing that you took someone's virginity. And also, by this point, by the time he met Lastania, apparently he already had 2 kids out of wedlock by apparently 2 different women. So, and from the sources I read, it seems like he wasn't raising said children. So, Lastania's family apparently owned a pool bar in LA, and Chico would apparently regularly visit there, and Lastania, she was singing and playing the guitar, and apparently they had eye contact, and, they saw each other. Like in the movies, they make eye contact, and that's where it's like, it all starts. So, on March 15th, 1881, Lastania is singing at a club for a party thrown by Pio Picho, who apparently he was California's like last Mexican governor. And so he apparently had just lost some land to like Chico's father, and Lastania was like in love with Chico by this point because they've been talking for a while. And so she decides, you know what, and apparently he had like promised her that they were gonna get married, and he went and got like a little fake marriage certificate to like prove like, hey, we're gonna get married, like, don't worry. So she changes one of the lyrics in Spanish, because apparently she was speaking Spanish when she was still singing. She changes one of the lyrics last minute to say, like, I love your saluting lips, because apparently Pito, the guy whose part of this was, apparently he was like very sensitive about his prominent mouth, because apparently there was something like wrong with his lips, which I didn't really see, but I guess everyone is insecure as you can't really see. So yeah. So then after she does this to Pio, okay, she runs off the stage and runs into Chico's arms. They go get a hotel room together, and she's under the impression they're about to get married. So apparently sources are saying they went and did it that night consensually, no coercion, no nothing. And then there were other sources saying that he pretty much threatened, like, if you don't have sex with me, I'm not going to marry you. So of course, her being in love, she did it. And then those sources that were saying that he pretty much coerced her into sex, they were saying that after he finished, he was proud of himself and said that he's not going to marry her and that her virtue's not ruined because obviously he just took her virginity. So then, of course, Lastania basically gets what we call modern day ghosted. Obviously, she goes back and tells people, well, not everybody, but she goes back and tells her family what happened. She pretty much gets like disowned by the family, and then except her sister, like Hortensia. I want to say yes. So Hortensia, who's her sister, that she's like pretty much the only one that does not disown her. And she's like, we're gonna find this Chico guy, because he can't just like up and dip because he had a whole business up here and everything. So of course Chico eventually heads back to LA, because this ain't the first girl he's done this to. Remember, I said he was a player. So he heads back. They find him at a racetrack gambling. They put him in a carriage and they pretty much forcibly take him to the courthouse to marry my sister. You gonna make this right. And so sources say like he made them stop. He made the carriage stop at like this random road with like a bunch of witnesses around. And so he's over here reminding her like she's on her version. And he starts degrading her, saying like nobody will marry you, no one will ever love you, you know, stuff like that. And so she snaps. She takes a gun out of her purse and she kills him point blank range in his eye. But she would later say that she never like knew how to shoot a gun, despite shooting him perfectly in his eye in front of like a bunch of people. Remember this part? And apparently, she would say that she originally bought the gun to take her own life out of the depression from losing her virginity before marriage and having being disowned by her family. So of course she gets arrested because you just killed somebody in front of all these people. It's not like you can hide that you did it. So then Chico's family, apparently they was just that rich, and back then the system was that corrupt. Apparently, if you rich enough, you could hire the prosecution, and they were like trying to prove that Lastania was a scorned woman, and that's why she killed Chico. However, the defense hired like 7 medical experts. Keep in mind, they knew practically nothing about women back then. Like I said, 1800s. They were saying that she was on her period and that she was mentally insane at the time of the murder. And that not only was there like blood coming out of you like there normally is on your period, that there's also blood in your brain. So at that point, hence it's gonna make anyone go crazy. And now also they were trying to say that her virginity was stolen from her, hence it would make any woman go crazy. And I don't know how they did this. I guess they hadn't cleaned out the hotel yet. They brought the sheets from the hotel to show like, hey, this was her virginity, you know, the hymen broke, da da da. And so, you know, but if you on trial for murder, you know you might possibly get killed. You gotta do what you gotta do. So I gotta respect it. So then of course Lastania gets released, and a lot of articles just stop there. They say she left town, was never seen again. But I've seen some like obituaries that say that she did get married again. So someone did marry her despite what she did. They looked past it. They married her and had 5 kids with her. 1 son and 4 daughters. One sadly died at like a year old, unfortunately, but the rest lived to see like middle age because, you know, the life expectancy wasn't exactly that long. So she would marry a Auguste Maurice on January 20th, 1883, and he was born in 1843, so 2 years younger than Chico, so like 38 when the murder happened. And so Auguste sadly died in 1918. She was said to have immigrated to Texas to, like, I guess legally stay in the United States in 1837. She was said to have died January 30th, 1947 at the age of 84 in Mexico City, Mexico. And all her children, except like two of her daughters, died before she did. So she outlived pretty much three of her 5 kids. But life expectancy wasn't that long, and the 2 that she did outlive, they died within 5 years of her. So anyway, yeah, that is the case of Lastania Alberta. Definitely let me know what you think down below. If you're in cases similar to this, definitely let me know. There's one that I think I have like researched, but I haven't like done the actual video yet. So if anyone thinks, I think it was also in the 1800s that she got acquitted for some similar reason. And so yeah, if anyone else potentially what case I'm talking about, definitely let me know. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.